Hello. Wait, can you hear me? People watching on YouTube or Facebook? Cool. Yay. So welcome. Welcome back to our stream. I'm Kirby if you don't know me yet. I'm Kirby Aráullo, your friendly Pinoy historian. And again, I'm doing live streams for this week and next week to raise funds for the kababayans in the Philippines who are currently struggling to survive because of the typhoon. So today's live stream will be talking about a bunch of things. So Christmas, of course, because it's Christmas season, and then we'll be digging deeper into the what it means to be in the diaspora and coming back to the Philippines as a Balikbayan. And we have a special guest today. But before I introduce our guest, again, this stream will be a fundraiser for NAFCON's Bayanihan response to um, Typhoon Odette or Typhoon Rai. Let me uh, there. Oh, you can't see it. But yeah, you can't see the thing anymore. Um, what happened? Anyways, today is again it's a fundraiser for the communities impacted by typhoon in the Philippines, and of course, all donations will be coursed through NAFCON, the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns. I'm one of NAFCON's officials, national official. I'm the national coordinator for culture and heritage. NAFCON is a national alliance of Filipino organizations, institutions, and individuals that respond to the concerns and the needs of Filipinos in the U.S. and in the Philippines. And we do this by creating an action-oriented program that brings people together through culture and heritage, that's my pillar, education, health and wellness, and advocacy. So we at NAFCON ensure that all the donations reach the impacted communities timely and efficiently. And we've been doing this for many years now. And as part of our Bayanihan Community Response campaign, we consistently respond to the needs of the affected communities for relief, rehabilitation, and rebuilding. So even before typhoon hit the Philippines, we have partners on the ground who are tried and tested in local community-based organizations that provide timely and effective assistance to the most impacted families and communities. So in the last three live streams that we did this week, we raised over $1,400 or $1,400. How much is that in pesos? Let me just calculate that really quick. So in the last 3 days that we did the live stream, this is the fourth one. We got $1,400 times. Wait, what's the what's the rate? This USD to PHP 50. Oh, 50 pesos. Wow, that's we raised 70,000 pesos in the last 30 days that we've not 30 days, last 3 days that we did our live stream for Bayanihan. So, oh, but the peso sign is not showing on StreamYard, so I'll just do, yeah. So far we reached 70,000 pesos or 1,400 plus dollars the last 3 days that we're doing our live stream. Yeah, so maraming salamat to everyone who donated. Every penny counts. Like I mentioned yesterday, um, you know, this will already provide hundreds of hot meals, ulam and other, not just ulam, but rice and ulam and other drinks that we can provide to the communities who need it the most in the Philippines, especially the Visayas, parts of Mindanao and Palawan. So yeah, so maraming salamat for all the donations that came in the last 3 days. Let me just double check right now where are we at the on the national website of NAFCON. Okay, to see our starting number. So overall, this fundraiser that we started for Typhoon Odette for NAFCON, overall we have $9,000 that we raised. Or let me double. Let me let me just do the calculator again before I introduce our special guest for tonight. 9,038.67 times, times 50. Wow, half a million pesos. Dali lang, na-calculate ko pa. Saan na yun? Ayun. Let's see if the peso sign works. Yeah, and so far, NAFCON was able to raise $9,038 or 451,993 pesos, so almost half a million pesos that we were able to raise in the last couple of days for our bayanihan relief for the typhoon, um, impacted by the Typhoon Odette in the Philippines, for communities that were affected by the typhoon. And yeah, this is exciting. So we'll do a check in again in the middle of our live stream to see how much we've raised from this number to you know throughout this live stream. Um, Yay. So yeah, if you haven't donated yet and you have the ability and the capacity to donate, you have extra change, donate to NAFCON's Maynílâ response to Typhoon Odette. The website is tinyurl.com/2021 typhoons. I keep forgetting to add because we have a QR code. I should have added it to the screen, but I forgot to do it today. But anyways, let us introduce our guest for today or tonight, wherever you're watching. Speaking of which, let us know in the comments below or wherever you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and I'll get a few shout outs throughout the live stream. Yeah, so I'm streaming from Sacramento, California, and our guest is streaming from the Philippines. So yeah, let me just add something else. This is cool. Did I spell this right? Sandali lang. Medyo cool. So now I'm going to introduce our guest. So itim, or a reiteration of the Tagalog word itim, meaning dark. So itim is a second generation Filipino-American MC, born and raised in Northern California. He considers himself an artist in the greater movement of Filipinx creatives who are reclaiming their identities by reinterpreting them through the experience of the diaspora. So in 2018, itim or Tim, he moved to the Philippines to live with and serve the urban poor community in Metro Manila. Repping Riverside, Quezon City, Itim creates it to inspire his kababayans to reclaim and decolonize their identities and meaningfully reconnect back to the motherland. So without further ado, let's welcome Itim. There you go.
Mopay.
Hello.
Magandang, ano dyan, magandang gabi dito tanghali.
Yeah.
I'm in Samar right now.
Oh, you're in
So,
Sama right now?
yeah, Gandara Samar.
What?
So, yeah, speaking of the storm, I mean,
Yeah.
thankfully, so I'm at my partner's family's place,
Mhm.
and thankfully they weren't hit too hard by
Oh,
Odette,
okay. That's
but
good.
the signal here is really bad. Um, like it was already not great, and now it's even worse.
Yeah.
But hopefully, Globe uh, pulls a Christmas miracle, and we can get through this whole stream.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
heard from in other places they don't even have signals yet. From what I heard from our partners in the Philippines for NAFCON. Yeah, I'm glad
yeah,
your
yeah.
your loved ones are okay in summer. I'm glad you're okay.
Salamat. Yeah, thank you. Salamat. It's crazy.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but
So last
unfortunately, these kind of things
yeah
got super deep.
last week I was actually Itim's guest on his Instagram, so now he's my guest. um,
Yeah, we had some fun.
yeah, and we can recreate or talk about the same topics we talked about last time because a lot of the viewers have here are not on Instagram. So let me do some shout out from the audience.
See.
Oh, cool. Shout out to Kulai Azul watching from Hong Kong. Hello there and happy holidays. Wow, Hong Kong. I didn't know that. I didn't know I have folks from Hong Kong. Hello. Thank you. Um, Al Rudson watching from Australia. Wow, down under. Thanks for joining. And we have Emshin from Bulacan. Shout out to Emshin from Bulacan, to all our kababayans in Bulacan. In Florida, Manuel Mojica. Hello, what's up, Florida? It's late there. We also have someone from Hawaii, Bulag Bandit Media from Maui, Hawaii. Yay. Thanks for joining us. So we don't really have I don't really have a set of questions for Itim, so we can just talk about whatever you want to talk about. I was just thinking it's
It's
Christmas
okay. We can just talk.
Eve, right? Yeah. It's Christmas Eve there, right? In the Philippines?
Yeah, it's Christmas Eve day.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, gonna be having Noche Buena later tonight.
Yeah.
Does your
Okay.
family do Noche Buena, like staying up till midnight
Yeah, yeah,
and
we do.
like counting down? Yeah,
Yeah, we do the whole
yeah,
thing.
it's
Like it's
fun.
good. Yeah.
What's kind of sad though this year is
Uh-huh.
so like I said in my bio, I'm from this neighborhood called Riverside. It's the
Uh-huh.
community I'm serving and I live in. And I've become very notorious, and it's become a meme now of every day since September 1. I've opened my window and yelled, "Mga kababayan, malapit na ang Pasko!" Like I do that every morning on my Instagram story and my Facebook My
Yeah.
Day. And so everyone in my community knows me for doing that. But
Yeah.
on the actual Christmas day, I will not be there to say,
Oh, that's fine.
Pasko na mga kababayan. It's kind of sad. Yeah, but and I missed the antics last year because that was actually my first Christmas
Yeah.
in it was my second Christmas in the Philippines, but my first in Manila.
So
And
last year
I'm sure
was
you know
yeah.
Kirby, but for those
Go ahead, describe
was that?
it. Go ahead, describe it.
Yeah, I think in recent years, especially because of the current administration, um, the Christmas celebrations have looked a lot different in the provinces and in
Mhm.
Manila. And what I noticed, like my first Christmas in the Philippines was in my family's province of Quezon. It was very low key and wasn't very loud. And I grew up hearing stories from like my family, even like people immigrants I
Mhm.
knew who would always talk about how crazy Christmas is and how it's like a war, parang guerra.
Oh yeah,
And
with the fireworks
so
on
I
New
was
Year's Eve.
was that
I was just saying the fireworks.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was expecting my first Christmas in
Mhm.
2018, and it wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
But then, because I was in the province, but then fast forward to Christmas in 2020, and it was like a war. It was crazy, like counting down to midnight in Riverside.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like people were uh, screaming. There was music. Like all the Bluetooth speakers in the community were on full blast, playing their own song. There
Yeah.
were fireworks everywhere on the ground, in the sky,
Uh-huh.
on people's hands. But
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was super fun, and
I
it was
remember
probably
those.
one of the most beautiful moments of just genuine community that I felt just
Uh-huh.
running around my whole neighborhood saying "Maligayang Pasko" to everybody. But it was really fun. So I'm really gonna miss that because as fun as it is here in the province, it's a lot more low key than
Mhm.
Riverside. Like they get really ratchet with Christmas over there. So I'm
That's
gonna miss
true.
that for sure.
Yeah. I guess that's my question for you. Like how different what how different was Christmas for you comparing, growing up in California and then moving to the Philippines? Like, I guess what was your experience like,
Yeah,
having
it's
transition?
yeah, it's I think it's a couple things.
Mhm.
Um, First is obviously it's always been much quieter and sadder in the U.S. That's what I hear from every immigrant that I talk to, like even my 1.5 Gen friends, or even just like the
Mhm.
generation above me.
Yeah.
Whenever they talk about Christmas, Pasko, they always say, "Oh man, it's so sad and depressing here in America." I'm like, what are you talking about? This is all I know. Like it
Yeah.
seems pretty happy to me. Um, and being with family like any time of year is great, especially because I think my family, for better or worse, has as much as we've Americanized, I think
Yeah.
they do retain a lot of like
Mhm.
genuinely. quote
tradition.
unquote Filipino things, whatever that is.
Yeah,
But I think they maintain a lot of the spirit in how we
yeah,
eat together, how we even sing and dance together. And so I kind of grew up still having pieces of that in
mm,
diaspora. But then, of course, going out here to the Philippines and getting to see the fireworks in person,
mhm,
like to actually hear how loud it
yeah,
is it's like a night and day difference. But it's funny how there are still similar things. Like you still feel those
mhm,
feelings of community and even family. And I'm grateful to be here with my partner's family and be welcomed in, like I'm
yeah,
part of the family. So that's been really great. But it's also a weird. I'm like the reverse OFW. So it's
yes,
weird because like I grew up with my grandparents and my mom, and so now it's just my Lola and my mom, and I
uh-huh,
don't spend Christmas with them. So it's like that one time of the year where you're really with your family.
yeah,
I'm not with them, and that's like exactly what our OFWs do every
yeah,
year.
that,
Is they have to
mhm,
go through this, whether they're in Hong Kong, the
mhm,
U.S.,
yeah.
wherever they don't get to spend these special moments with their loved ones. So it's a very bittersweet kind of experience.
Oh no, I think we lost. Oh no, so I think we lost the signal because he is in the Visayas where they're having trouble with the signal because of the typhoon. So while we wait for Tim to come back, we'll go do our shout outs. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. So shout out to Kimmy from Cagayan, watching from Cagayan. Um, Helena from California, what's up? Um, Gonzalez from Bulacan, Gonzalez Ipe. Shade Grave watching from Cavite, hello. Um, Tomenyo Mo, also from Bulacan, San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, and who was also from Samar. Yay! Thank you for joining us. I think Tim is back. Let me bring him back to the stream. Welcome back. Welcome back. Can you hear us or me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me or not yet? Oh no, I don't think he can hear me. Maybe send him a quick message.
I It's kind of going in and out,
Oh no.
and says I'm still backstage.
Yeah, I think it's lagging too. Oh no, we lost him again. Huh. Let's while we wait, we can talk about any of the questions that you sent in the comments. If you have questions, let me know. I'll probably read some of the comments. Or wait, hold on. I think he's back. There we go.
Ayun.
Okay. Yeah, you're back. Welcome
Yo,
back.
sorry. Pasensya lang mga
No worries.
kababayan. Mahina talagang
It's
signal
all
dito.
good. What were we talking about? Christmas, or like just the whole different. You're
Yes.
OFW, but reverse. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I'm like a reverse OFW. I'm a Balikbayan. I'm an overseas Balikbayan. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of a weird. I get to kind of
Yeah.
ex- vicariously, well, not vicariously, but in a way,
Uh-huh.
experience or get a taste of what they go through. But of course, not to compare
Mhm.
the privileges I have in choosing to come here. Whereas life circumstance kind of makes it not much of a choice for our OFW.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's for me. I'm curious. What about for yourself? Having had a childhood in the Philippines, what was it like between Christmas, Pasko in Angeles and Pasko in
Oh yeah.
SoCal, then later Davis?
Um. Well, Christmas in the Philippines, like you said, is very different. I mean, it's very more lively. So I get what the Kababayans are saying, the OFWs are saying about how Christmas in the US can be, excuse me, can be can seem like depressing. I can see that. Luckily for my family, they're very big on Christmas too, so they do a lot of the celebrations that we still did back in the
Mm.
Philippines, and we're still doing it here in SoCal. Um, yeah, so it's I see the difference. To be honest, even my family agrees. We all agree that Christmas in the Philippines is way better. It's fun there because you really feel the spirit of Christmas or the holidays. Even if you don't really celebrate Christmas, you feel the spirit of the
Yeah.
holidays. Everywhere you go, in the store, outside,
Yeah.
outside the street, in your neighborhood. As opposed to here where it's pretty
Mhm.
quiet unless you're in your home that you celebrate it, or sometimes the stores have some decorations, but they don't really. It's not as big as it is in the Philippines where everybody is just in Christmas mode. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, everybody is
Yeah.
like one thing. The whole community celebrating with you, and the whole community is in a more lively mood.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel like, especially what I've seen in my
Mhm.
community as a marginalized urban community is that people are always looking for reasons to celebrate. Every birthday is a
Mhm.
party. Like there's no one that
Yeah,
has a birthday and there's nothing that happens. There's always may handa, lagi may handa, may inuman. There's
yeah.
always a reason to celebrate. And I think when you look at the harsh, even just monotonous realities that a typical working class Filipino has to go
Mhm.
through, they need, you need things to look forward to and to celebrate. Um, and I think Christmas is like one of the biggest moments for that. And we can have several parties.
Mhm. Yeah,
Man, I know like in Riverside, we'd be having several parties. There's a homeowners association party. There's a barangay party. There's each family's party, and then Christmas Day there's a party. Yo, like
yeah,
last year, I woke up at so after partying all of Noche Buena, like we
yeah.
partied till late at night. The next morning, I wake up at 8 a.m. to people already taking shots of Red Horse. I was like, yo, dude, I gotta have my coffee before I
Yeah.
have my Red Horse, man. Like, even if it's Christmas.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of parties.
Wow. Yeah.
Even even kids in school,
Yeah.
they have the Christmas party in their class that they do. Kind of miss that.
Hmm.
It's something that even if you're not in a Catholic school, they still do Christmas parties in schools in the Philippines. And I remember
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
forward to the um, exchange gifts that we do in schools. Like even if
Yep.
it's just a pencil that they give you, it's like a whole
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
history and fun excitement.
Yeah. Did your family do simbang gabi?
Yes, yeah, we did. Or we still do in SoCal. Yeah, I haven't gone this
Oh
strict
wow,
as
so
I'm
that's
in
like
SoCal, but yeah,
or okay,
yeah. So we
nice.
still do.
I growing up as an evangelical, I feel robbed. I feel kind of
Um,
robbed about like some of the ways I think Catholics have done a great job of like indigenizing certain practices, like
yeah.
the simbang gabi, because we don't really have much of an equivalent in evangelical churches.
Mhm.
So whenever I see that as like a part of uh, like my neighbors' lives and just childhoods of
Yeah.
them doing that, I'm like kind of envious because like, oh, I never got to experience that. It was just not a part of my growing up
Uh-huh.
as a Phil Lamb evangelical. Props to our Catholic kababayans for
That's true. Yeah.
doing that. Do you know? I'm sure you know. Like, what are the roots of Simbang Gabi? And like, was that a Spanish thing before it came here,
Yeah.
or
So
was
in
it
a
just
way, it was
something? Okay.
Spanish. So it was what do you call this? It was a mass because you know how a lot of our um kababayans are people back in the Philippines are farmers. So the
Mm.
Simbang Gabi was for them to be able to attend a Christmas service before they go out in the field and do the farming, to farm the land, to work the land. That's how Simbang Gabi
Mm.
started. So it was really for the farmers, our
Yeah.
our our, our ancestors who need they needed to go get up early to tend to their land, to their fields, and they had to have this um what do you call this, Christmas mass or service that they had to do
Mm.
right before they go out in the field. So that's how Simbang Gabi started. I think the actual name in Spanish is Misa de Gallo. So it's how do I say that in
Ah.
English? Because gallo is rooster. So it's like the
Oh
mass of the
wow.
rooster. So yeah, in Spanish it's called Misa de Gallo, mass of the rooster. So to because the rooster wakes up everybody to go out in the field.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I have another question. And I saw this kind of in the chat though.
Uh-huh.
Is what are your thoughts on the Filipino love for Christmas? Given that Christmas is a practice introduced by colonizers, by
Mhm.
foreigners. I mean, all over the world, like that's the case. But what are your thoughts on like Filipinos embracing it to the point that it's like
Uh-huh.
Catholicism, like it has its own Filipino iteration. Like
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on us like celebrating a foreign holiday?
Yeah. So from what I know, our ancestors have always been big in celebration. That's why we always find a reason to party, to have a
Right,
fiesta or
right.
fiesta. There's always a reason to
Yeah.
have a party to celebrate. So that's a common trait that our ancestors have always had. So even before colonialism, even before Christianity was introduced to the Philippines, they already had different festivals and feasts and celebrations to celebrate different things. And so from when Christianity was introduced, they kind of just adopted what they already had, and I guess what do you call this,
Mm.
mixed elements from our own native culture, indigenous cultures in the Philippines, because again they love celebrating. Yeah, and it's a common thing for a lot of not just Filipinos or people in the Philippines, but what do you call this,
Mhm.
across Southeast Asia. A lot of the the native people in Southeast Asia are always, what do you call this, open to adopting different elements from different cultures. So you will see, for example, in like the different religions in Southeast Asia, there's how Hinduism is different from Buddhism, so like a separate religion. But in Southeast Asia, it's always
Mhm.
merged because they
Yeah.
always pick and choose the elements that reflect, um, that they want to reflect on or reflect on them. So they kind of mix and match. So they love putting things together from different culture, different religions. So that's how Southeast Asians, not just Filipinos, have always been, open to adopting the different traditions from different cultures.
Mm.
And they've always
Interesting.
been open, welcoming to foreigners. They were
Yeah.
not, like disgusted by foreigners coming into their borders, unlike the people. Let me change the
Right,
background.
right. The irony.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I think uh it I don't know if I can use the word syncretism,
Yeah,
but
that's the
it
word. Yeah.
is kind of yeah. Then
Yeah.
yes, let's use the word syncretism. And see Filipino Christmas as its own synchronized version of
Yeah.
indigenous practices of festivals. I
Yeah.
mean, we still have festahans. Like there's still
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their each province,
Yeah.
even each barangay, even each
Yeah.
section of a barangay will have their own pistahan. Like
That's true. Yeah.
we have a pistahan in Barangay Commonwealth. Like it's every ooh. I'm not a good barangay citizen, I guess. I think it's October. Quezon's is in October. My family's province in or my
Oh,
family's
your
town
family's
in
from
Quezon.
Quezon.
We have our pistahan in
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hello Tagalog. Ooh, that needs to be a shirt. But yeah, so we have our pistahan in
Yeah.
October. It's also my birthday month, and so yeah, just recognizing that's always been a. I appreciate you pointing that out because we see that in the today's iteration with our Pasko and the bear months, everything. You kind of disappear. Am I by
No,
myself?
I'm back. I had to
Okay.
grab something real quick.
Oh
But yeah,
no,
go
you're
ahead.
gonna
I'm
have to
so
hold
sorry.
down the fort. Yeah, no, like I appreciate you pointing that out
Mhm.
because I think Chris Pinoy Christmas, Pinoy Pasko, whatever you want to call it, I think is a good example of
Mhm.
healthy syncretism. I mean, it, of course, will have different shapes and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
at the very least, you know, if the kababayans having a good time on the kanto, you know, that's all I could ask for. You know,
yeah,
drinking the Red Horse at 8 a.m. I mean, you know, shoot, gotta go to work tomorrow and be underpaid again. Like,
yeah.
yeah, let's just bahala na, di ba?
Mm.
So
And you did
interesting.
mention the different fiestas, festival, pistahans. Um, One thing
Mm.
to kind of note too that a lot of people in the Philippines don't realize is that a lot of these festivals, even though they celebrate a Christian saint, a lot of the practices and the
Mm.
celebrations are actually pre-colonial. So there's for
Mm.
example, this fiesta in Bulacan about fertility rights in Obando, Bulacan. It's actually a pre-colonial practice that they've been doing to to have babies.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
another one. There's a lot. There's a lot of different fiestas, pistanas in the Philippines that on the surface they may seem Christian or Catholic, but if you dig deeper, the practices, the celebrations, the way they celebrate things, they're very pre-colonial.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so I'm in seminary right now. Very
Mhm.
mixed feelings, but one of my kind of fields of research has been in looking at the first Christian missionaries in the
Yeah.
Philippines, and it's so interesting how there was so much more. Well, there was more syncretism that happened where we got folk Catholicism and where the pistahans are a great example of
Mhm.
how what
Yeah.
were feasts offered to ancestors and different spirits got just
Mhm.
given a different face and given
Yeah.
a saint instead of a spirit, I guess. Um, and so it's really cool to see how indigenous culture still adapted to that
Mhm.
new circumstance, even with the presence of a colonizer. Whereas, you
Yeah.
know, for evangelical circles, and you know, my whole family is one of the 1 out of 10 families that's not Catholic. Just seeing how us as evangelicals kind of lose touch with a lot of that.
Mhm.
We lose a lot of touch with those pre-colonial roots because of our religion. Um,
Yeah.
and so it'll be like where or one of my conservative provincial pastors will be like, no, we don't go to Pistan because that's sinful, like that's a sin,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
demonic,
Mhm.
and things like that. And so it's unfortunate how uh, evangelicalism introduced by American evangelical missionaries
Mhm.
in the 20th century really just what's the word I'm looking for? Really isolated
Yeah.
uh, the faith that they were bringing um, from the culture that they were bringing
Mhm.
it to. Whereas I think from the bit I've read is that um, you know, for all their ills, the Spanish Catholic priests and missionaries saw like, oh, if we actually
Yeah.
let the Filipinos play out their dramas of the Passion and
Yeah.
you know, if we let them do their little things, like they actually believe they'll come to mass and they'll do these practices more. So we'll let them do it. You know, go
Yeah.
ahead, bahala na kayo. But then you know, with the Americans, like no, you got it this way. You got to read your Bible this way. You got to
Yeah.
speak in English, etc. etc. So, I feel like that's been a bit of a theme I've been coming back to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think just for me being doing the discipline I'm doing, it's just such a crazy difference. And I think
Yeah.
how in evangelicals call it contextualizing. How much work needs to be done in contextualizing our faith
Yeah.
within our own identities, within
Yeah.
ourselves. Uh, I think and that's what also a reason why I'm here as a Balikbayan
Yeah.
to ask those questions and try to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. It is a different approach when spreading Christianity. Yeah. Even though the Spaniards, they have their evil side, but they were pretty good at incorporating the native traditions into the, like that was also a way for them to spread Christianity. Like you already have this um fiesta,
Mm,
your celebration, that we're just gonna put a different layer on top of it, and I
hmm
guess historically speaking, just knowing or studying Spain's history too, it has a lot to do with their own history to being Spain used to be Muslim. A lot of people are not aware
Oh, I
that
did not know
Spain
that.
used to be like
That one.
predominantly Muslim. They there's a lot of churches in Spain that used to be mosque that are now cathedrals.
Mm,
So they have that. I guess they have
right.
that. Um, it's part of their culture that they just put a different layer on top of something else that was already there. So I guess that was that's a way to see it too, as opposed to the American missionaries who were from the English traditions who are,
Yeah.
if you think about it, they're kind of more conservative and really
Conservative,
yeah
universalist.
yeah
Yeah.
so
Modernist.
I guess it has something to do with that too.
Yeah. Oh man,
Maybe
I could talk
everybody
Spanish versus Americans in the Philippines all day, but I know there's another
yeah
topic we want to move on to.
yeah but yeah, so Christmas it's more fun in the Philippines, um because even
Long
with
story
people
short.
who are struggling, they still find ways to celebrate. They still are very happy about Christmas, unlike in other countries where if you're if you're poor, you don't really, a lot of them don't really celebrate Christmas, as opposed to in the Philippines
Yeah.
where everybody's just really, their spirits are high, and they're happy, and happy to celebrate and be with family.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
JP is here.
It's almost like what choice do people have here? I mean, and I think that's a bit to uh, even go to if we want to pivot even to Odette, but like I think there's been a growing critique of how we're trying to uh, not
Uh-huh.
over romanticize like the joy and resilience that our
Yeah,
people
yeah,
display in the
yeah,
face of adversity, and
yeah,
Christmas being an example of how, despite all the things going on, people find a reason to
yeah,
celebrate. I think it's also important for us to remember like there's no other choice. Like what
yeah,
else are you gonna do?
yeah,
Uh, but choose to celebrate, and that is on one hand is a lesson in resilience, but
uh-huh,
it is also, I think, a critique as to what are the structures, what are the things going on that make it so that we don't really have a choice.
uh-huh,
And
yeah,
I've appreciated the conversations that I've seen on social media, particularly with Odette, that I've been talking about how this is a climate crisis. This is
yeah,
not just like some random natural
yeah,
disaster. This is the result of a climate crisis that the global north is mostly at fault for. So
yes,
making the conversations about that instead of, oh, let's just help Filipinos, but
that's right.
actually
Yeah,
there's a climate crisis we need to address.
yeah,
I think I've appreciated how that narrative is, at least in my feed. I don't know about other folks' social media feeds, but in mine, I've appreciated that narrative shift
yeah,
over the past few years. So hopefully we can continue to push that.
yeah. Hopefully, more people get some awareness about it, because a lot of people just think like it's a normal thing for the Philippines to have typhoons. We get 20 typhoons a year, but if you really look at what's going on, it's getting worse. And the thing is, the fact,
Yeah.
like another, fact is the Philippines should have been prepared. We get this typhoons every year. Well,
Mm.
one, they're getting stronger, but on the second layer, or like the second problem there, is that we should have been pouring our resources in with reducing the risk of the communities, as instead of just waiting for it to happen and respond after it happened already. So that's like a sad thing
Yeah.
too that we
Yeah.
that's been bothering me.
I mean, I think this administration has shown how not proactive and how reactionary they are. This whole pandemic, it's been terrible. And I think this is just the latest example of that, as you point out, because
Yeah.
it's literally just the like going to the pandemic. It's like the restrictions, especially in Manila, all just depend on how many COVID cases we have. Oh, there's a spike in COVID
Mhm.
cases. Oh, okay, we're gonna shift from general community quarantine to modified enhanced community quarantine. Oh, there's a dip in COVID cases. Okay, we're gonna loosen up and go to a general community quarantine. Like that's
Mhm.
the extent of what the government's response has been. And okay, if
Mhm.
we want to kind of pivot towards the election as well, it's just really frustrating to see how this Duterte administration has showed such a poor, terrible response that is
Mm-hmm.
purely reactionary. Like looking at the face shield
Yeah.
fiascos, looking at ridiculous curfew hours, like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Like
Mm-hmm.
what does that do? Looking at all these horrible reactionary measures, and yet seeing how Sarah Duterte is leading the polls for the vice presidency, and her running mate, Bongbong Marcos, is also leading in polls for the presidency.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's just unfortunate. Like we don't even have to look at the history books to read what the Marcoses did in the 80s, the 70s. We can look at the past 2 years. What has the Duterte administration done during this
Uh-huh.
pandemic? And it hasn't been very great. It's been
Yeah.
terrible, and yet people want more of it. Want more of
Yeah.
this. I guess people want the face shields again. I don't know. People want to go back to 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. curfews, but it's really unfortunate. I have more thoughts on this particular topic actually, but I'm curious what are your thoughts on this whole
I mean,
presidential election coming up, and you know
to be,
Duterte's and Marcos's teaming up.
mhm. I mean, there's a lot to think about in the coming election. Like, like even if, even if you, regardless of how you feel about Duterte, if you look at the performance of how they're doing, like what you said, how they're handling the pandemic, it's not the best. It's
Hmm.
probably the worst. And
Yeah, terrible.
and it just sucks too that a lot of our people in the Philippines have been misinformed by a lot of things. There's a lot of, like, fake news is a huge word in the Philippines,
Yeah,
huge in the Philippines. It's an industry in the Philippines to to spread fake news, and sadly that affect
right.
that has an effect in how the survey shows, like how certain candidates are getting more more attention, more support. Yeah, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
a heated election, heated coming months in the Philippines. Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
we might do some series of election related videos and live streams with a few partners I haven't where I can't talk about them who they are yet, but other, like, media folks who wanted to do like a election related content in the coming months. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just the typhoon too. Oh no, Tim, where did he go? Okay, habang wala si Tim while we're figuring out his signal, I'm gonna do some shoutouts. Uh, oh wait, Tim is back. Hold on, let me just do one shout out that I saw from my hometown. Luis Galvan said, I remember growing up in Angeles City and we had Lubenas. Lubenas is a 9-day novena slash parole parade that we do. And we'll talk more about that next week with a special guest who is an expert in paroles. Let's bring Itim back. Welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry talaga. Ang
No
hina
worries.
talaga ng connection dito. Um, so I didn't catch the very end of what you were saying with, I think the last word I heard was content.
Oh yeah, we were
Election
just
content.
there's just gonna be upcoming content that's election related coming out in the coming months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so stay tuned for folks who are
Right.
interested about that.
Definitely. I have a song I'm actually working on
Oh, cool.
to about elections in general. Um, and it actually was started over a year ago. Like I wasn't even thinking. It was way before Marcos announced his running and Sarah, obviously. But I'm
Yeah,
really hoping to get that out soon because I think it's
can't
just
wait.
a timely thing I want to say, and not to ride the time, but really speak to the time. But one thing I'm curious what your thoughts are on this because I haven't heard this conversation come up too much with the election and polarizing politics.
Uh-huh.
So it started with Maria Ressa uh, CEO of Rappler, Nobel Peace Prize winner, going on an interview with Vice Asia, and viewers were free to throw in questions on the IG live, and um, sorry, just making sure you hear me.
Yeah.
Is my signal okay? And so, full disclosure, I'm a fan of Maria Ressa. I'm a huge fan of what she represents
Yeah.
for freedom of the press, free speech. I'm a fan of Rappler. I read their articles. Um, and so I love and support what they're doing. My only critique as someone who lives in an underprivileged community is that their news isn't very accessible
Mm-hmm.
to the masses because it's mostly in English and not even
Yeah.
simple English all the time. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they do have like editorial think pieces in Tagalog. Their
Mhm.
TikTok has been doing a great job in
Yeah.
doing their content in Tagalog. So there, I think, have been efforts, but still, for the large part, is inaccessible to folks and to the kababayans. And so I brought up, my question in the interview she was doing with Vice Asia. I asked, um, so how do you think Rappler as a news source can become more accessible to working class Filipinos?
Yeah.
I.e., more articles in Tagalog. And her response to it, again, I'm a fan of Maria Ressa. I wanted to like her response, but her response was a bit disappointing because she
Mm-hmm.
responded by saying, that has been an issue at Rappler for a long time, but we came to the conclusion or the decision that we are a news source, a small news source,
Mm-hmm.
relatively speaking, that chooses to make news for key people to make great decisions for our society.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand what she's saying, and at the
Yeah.
same time, there are so many assumptions
Yeah.
in that statement. One of them being that the masses are not key people that can make great changes for our
True.
society, because as we've
Mm-hmm.
seen in populist presidents, they do decide who
Yes.
gets to sit in Malacanang or the White House.
Yeah.
And so that for me was such an ironic moment because that is Rappler's one of their big things. Oh, we want to fight the spread of disinformation. We want to fight fake news. We want to combat
Yeah.
against this. But my critique is, well, yeah, all of us want to do that. But all of you, Rappler, being a credible news source, a great news source, by not having your news accessible to working class Filipinos, you are actually helping the spread of disinformation because working class Filipinos like my neighbors don't have an alternative to the fake news articles they're reading on their Facebook feeds. And so they'll read those because they can't understand Rappler. They haven't even heard of Rappler. They don't even know who Maria Ressa is, even though
Yeah.
she's the first Filipino to win a Nobel Peace Prize. They don't know who
Yeah.
she is. And so that this has been, I think, a big thing for me because I think it's one of the main reasons why Lenny is fighting an uphill battle with this election because I'm for Lenny. I want her to win the election, considering the other choices.
Mm-hmm.
But the working class Filipinos are not for Lenny, and I think a lot of that is because of this stubborn division that has always existed
Yeah.
in socioeconomic classes in the Philippines, where we have the educated elite who can say the histories, who
Mm-hmm.
know human rights issues,
Yeah.
and they know to vote for Lenny, right? They know what to critique in a Duterte or a Marcos. There's
Mm-hmm.
such a strong disconnect between them and our working class kababayans
Yeah.
who are just as important, but
Mm-hmm.
do not have not had the privileges and resources to learn about Marcos'
Yeah.
histories, to learn about what is really going on with the Duterte administration right now with the drug
Yeah.
war and the human rights abuses and the press suppression.
Yeah.
And so they're not, this disconnect is ironically, I think, leading to, why we have a Marcos running for the presidency again. If we talk to people in the people power movement that, hey, in how many years was it? 40 years? In 40 years, you're going to have another Marcos running for the presidency. That would sound ridiculous when we think about how many people suffered human rights abuses just to get the first Marcos out of Malacanang. But here we are 40 years later with another Marcos running for the
Mm-hmm.
presidency, who was denied
Yeah.
everything that his father and mother has done.
Yeah.
And so that reality, I think, being attributed to this disconnect. So like Cory Aquino, I think Lenny Robredo is going to be significantly challenged by her disconnect with the kababayans, with the masses. Kasi mahalaga talaga ang marunong makikisama. Like,
Yeah.
yung
Yeah.
pakikisama talagang mahalaga sa ating kultura. You gotta know
Yeah.
how to hang. Like, that's a very important thing. And for such
Yeah.
a long time, I think the educated, woke kababayans,
Mhm.
di sila marunong makikisama. And that's gonna hurt all of us
Yeah.
in the long run. So
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
spiel. I'm curious what your response is to that, but I
I
have been
mean,
sitting on that for a minute, and so I've been trying to talk to
yeah.
people about that.
I mean that is very valid. A lot of the times the mass media in the Philippines are not really for the masses. If you think about it, a lot of um, the way they present things, the way a lot of the because if you think about it, a lot of the media is actually critical of the current administration, but at the same time, who like we said, who has access to these things, who can, you know, they don't even they don't even understand the way even when they like what you said, even when they have Filipino articles, I've seen some that are in Tagalog or Filipino, yet it's very in a too formal way that a lot of the masses don't really have an understanding of. To as much as a lot of people make fun of Taglish, sometimes that's the language that a lot of our kababayans do understand. Um, and yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I agree with you with the part,
Yeah.
especially the part where with the um, mass media has been, inaccessible to a lot of our kababayans. And I've seen a lot of the what you said, like the woke kababayans who are very critical of the people who believe and fall into the fake news things floating around, who are spreading fake
Yeah.
news. But at the same time, if you think about it, like what you said, they don't really have access to an alternative in the way that is really understandable to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and sometimes I just remember like a lot of the comments I get in my YouTube videos because I do make my videos in Tagalog and English. But on the Tagalog one, some people are like, "Why are you mixing, Tagalog and English?" But in my head, like, if I said this word in Tagalog, in like a
Yeah.
formal Tagalog, a lot of you are not gonna understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you really have to
Yeah.
speak their
I know what I
language
mean.
for you to communicate what you're trying to communicate. Because if not, then they're not really gonna understand what you're saying. They're just gonna, and if the thing is, if they don't
Yeah.
understand you, they'll probably hate you. There's that. I don't understand what he's saying, so I'll just listen to
Yeah.
this other person who's speaking my language. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot to think about.
Totally. I. Huh?
What's up?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's it's crazy. Just an example of like how suppressed media can be here is I was
mm,
actually in Samar at this time too in March, and we were in the middle of a enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila, so things were a lot more strict. And there was an interview being done by like it was on GMA, and they were interviewing some kind of healthcare professional people just for advice, those kind of typical things. But
mm,
what was so crazy was when the interviewer asked them, "Oh, so what do you think needs to be done to help the situation in this
mm,
pandemic, and even what we were alluding to earlier, to be more proactive?" And the person started to say that the president needs to open up the private sector to import vaccines, but
mm,
he literally only finished the first sentence and they cut off the video. They cut
mm,
it off. And they didn't show the rest of what the person had to say. They just removed the person from uh, the broadcast. And
mm,
that kind of blatant suppression of the press is just absolutely baffling as an American, because for we have our own issues with freedom of speech and things like that. But you know, um, at least we could watch. When Kaepernick was taking a knee, we could watch that. Of course, he ended up getting
mm,
fined. So those are the issues there. But that's all to say. The it's not that blatant
Yeah.
I'm not used to freedom of speech abuses being that blatant. Um, and I think it goes to I'm just gonna start rambling, but I think a lot of this stems from the paternalism that is attached to political leaders, and so it's like disrespectful to critique the president, which is doesn't make any sense if you. I mean, even just as a democratic citizen, when you look at the system of democracy.
Mhm. Oh no, we lost the signal again for item. I hope it's not censorship. While we wait for our guests to come back, excuse me. Just a reminder: today is a fundraiser for NAFCON's Typhoon Odette response to the community for the communities affected by typhoons in the Philippines. So if you haven't donated yet and you have the extra change, extra money, extra dollars to donate, donate today at NAFCON's website, or actually I made a tiny URL for it, tinyurl.com/2021 typhoon. So make sure to donate, and we'll do an update on the numbers in a little bit. Cool. I have a question from my partner. Hi, Yi. Yi's asking, tuning in late, must have missed a lot of the information earlier. How is everyone celebrating Christmas? So excited to hear what folks are doing around the world. So, yeah, so share in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching, how you celebrate your Christmas and where you're celebrating Christmas this year. Let us know in the comments. Let me pull the numbers up right now from the fundraiser. Cool. So far, we have a total of $9,048 that NAFCON has been able to raise for our fundraiser for the communities affected by a typhoon. Yeah, and oh no, what happened to this? Where'd it go? Yeah, comment. Let me know. Let us know in the comment where you're celebrating Christmas this year and how you're celebrating Christmas with your family or any holiday you're celebrating this year. Because not everybody is celebrates Christmas. Let me. Oh, Itim is back. Let us welcome him back. Oh wait, we lost him again. No. Okay. While we wait for him to come back again, we will look at some of the questions and comments that were sent earlier that I probably missed. Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, I saw this one earlier. Lubenas is a Christmas tradition in Pampanga. There's different Lubenas in Pampanga, and the one in Angeles City where I grew up and where Luis Calvan also grew up. It's very unique and very the paroles have different shapes, and we'll talk more about this when we have our special guest next week, who's a professor from the Philippines and whose research is in the in about paroles. So we'll have her join us on Monday here in the U.S. and Tuesday in the Philippines. So Monday night here and Tuesday noontime in the Philippines. What's another word? I mean, question that we got. Here's another question. I heard that the word Moro came from the pre-Catholic word for the Iberian Muslims. Moors, is this true? Yeah. So the word Moro is Spanish for Moors, and Moors are the North African Muslims. And in the Philippines, when the Spaniards first arrived, they met the people in the Philippines who are Muslim. Not everybody was Muslim in the Philippines, but Manila was Muslim, Mindanao and Sulu were Muslim. So when they met the Muslim ancestors, they had that mentality and called them Moro as well. So it's the same word as Moors. Yeah. And I guess a follow up question from Derpy Derp. If Moro is an exonym, then what's their endonym? So an exonym is the name from outsiders that they call you. So in this case, Spaniards call the Muslims in the Philippines Moro. So endonym is what you call yourself as a community or as an ethnic group. The short answer to this question is that there's a lot. different endonyms, because Moro, or the Muslim community in the Philippines, was very diverse. It's still very diverse. So if you go to Mindanao, there's the Maguindanaoans, the Maranaos, the Iranun, the Tausug, the Bajau, there's different indigenous groups in the Philippines who are Muslim and have their own endonym. So there's no generic endonym for everybody except for Bangsamoro or Moro, that we inherited from colonialism. But yeah, there's no endonym. Even when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, there was the Muslim community in the Philippines was very diverse. Kapampangans were Muslims. A lot of the Tagalog people were Muslims. So yeah, there's no endonym. It depends on the ethnic group that you're part of or they're part of. Yeah, cool. All right, there we go. We're back.
Ayan.
So when you were away,
Pasensya lang po yan.
no worries. I understand you're in Samar, where the typhoon hit. So I'm actually surprised you were able to join us. I thought you were still in QC. Let's
Yeah.
look at some of the. So while you were away, I asked them what they're doing for Christmas and where they're celebrating. Someone says we're doing Noche Buena and celebrating in Florida. So it's already Noche Buena in the Philippines in a few hours, but in the US it's tomorrow. So yeah,
Oh,
Florida.
that's right. Yeah.
You get to celebrate
Noche
first.
Buena.
Another one is
Yeah, we do. We do. Um, it's fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
What's so cool is the caroling. I think is another thing, just to
Mhm.
romanticize more about Pascua sa
Yeah.
Pilipinas. It's so funny just seeing the kids in the neighborhood just like they'll just go around caroling.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like growing up in the U.S. That was one of the things
You don't
um,
really.
that I would see in Christmas movies.
Yeah.
You know, like
But you don't see it
oh, in
in real
the
life.
old days of
Yeah.
Christmas in the U.S. Yeah, there was caroling, right? And I would
Yeah.
like when I would try to feel Christmas, I'm like, oh, where are the carolers? Like, I want to go caroling one day. Like, I grew up wanting that, and so it's so
Yeah.
cool to see. It's so normal here in the Philippines. Like everybody does it to the point that's kind of annoying sometimes. But no, it's a fun part. It's a fun part of
Yeah.
Christmas is to see people just singing outside and
Yeah. The kids. Yeah. I remember doing caroling
celebrating.
there a lot when I was a little kid. And
Yeah,
I think that's how I learned how to sing. um,
yeah.
what was
I mean,
this? Oh, I have a
that's how the
question.
kids get their some money
Yeah.
sideline.
Yeah. I remember making our own, what is that thing? The instrument, tambourine. I remember making our own tambourine with fans, the crowns of the soda bottles. So yeah, we used to make our own tambourines. Oh no, we lost item again. So I guess while we wait, we'll look at the comments. Um, Baron von Nessie. I am celebrating Christmas with my mom in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to finish making a parole and just cook for my mom this year. That's so cool. So yeah, so that I miss making paroles. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I do miss making my own parole. Growing up in Pampanga, in Angeles, Kamampangas grew up. Well, I'm not sure. Hopefully, they still do it, but up to my generation, children in Pampanga were taught how to make paroles by hand, and usually it's the elders that teach it. So traditionally, paroles in Pampanga, they the family would gather and the elder would teach the younger generation how to make parole. And yeah, parol is the Christmas lanterns that you see in the background of the string, this live stream. And now we associate it with Christmas, but parol has a deeper history that a lot of people are not aware of because the name parol, it's from Spanish farol, which means lantern. But pre-colonially, we already had parols actually in Pampanga. So a lot of Kamampangans, a lot of elders know about this. So a lot of the parols in Pampanga, the designs were actually pre-colonial. So a lot of the shapes were pre-colonial paroles. Even the stars, actually, people think that the star in the parol, today we see it as a representation of the Star of Bethlehem that guided the three wise men or three kings to Jesus, where he was born. But the shape of the star as a parol in Pampanga has been around before colonialism. And it used to be like seven-pointed star, eight-pointed stars. So a lot of these paroles are still around. So, I mean, not the designs are still alive, and now we just see it in a different lens. We see it as a Christian or a Catholic symbol, but back then we already had it. But we'll talk more about parol again next live stream on Monday. We have a professor, an expert from the Philippines, Dominic Contado, who can share more about her research in parol. Um, yeah, so oh, Tim is back. Welcome back. Can you hear us? Oh no! Okay. While we wait for him to reconnect, let's look at the comments. Um, yes, Tansan. We use Tansan. Tansan, so the metal crowns, the covers of the different sodas in the Philippines or soft drinks. So we would take it out, smash it with a hammer, flatten it, and then we poke a hole with something hot. We poke a hole in the middle, and then we put the what's that thing? How do you say it in English? Alambre in Tagalog or in Filipino. This metal thing that we turn into a tambourine. So we collect a lot of the different tansans from the different sodas that we drink, and then make a tambourine out of it. And that's our Christmas musical instrument when we go out and do Christmas caroling, which I actually miss. I haven't done Christmas caroling here in the US at all. Um, uh, a question from my partner: what Christmas songs did you learn growing up? So if you have answers, and this is a question for everybody, who would like to share in the comments, let us know what Christmas songs you learned growing up. A big Christmas song in the Philippines is Jose Marichan's "Christmas is in Our Hearts" that starts playing in September. There's actually a meme of him showing up, peaking when September arrives. Cool. Baron's family is from Pangasinan. Yay! My Lola is also from Pangasinan. And Naomi said that preparing Christmas na po, or they're already cooking, they just cook the ham. So ham is also a big um, Christmas food in the Philippines, thanks to the Spanish influence or colonial influence. Hamonado means ham. Tim is back. Tim is back. Welcome back.
Okay, let's see how long this lasts.
Yeah, no worries. So now people are just sharing in the comments what they do for Christmas and food. A lot of food. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, I was gonna ask Tim, what's your? Oh, there you're back. You're back. I think. There we go. Welcome back.
Favorite
I was gonna
Noche
ask you
Buena
what's your
food.
favorite Noche Buena food before you got disconnected.
Uh, so what's uh what's funny about my family? We actually, so this might be kind of scandalous, but we actually don't really eat a lot of Filipino food for our Noche Buena. It's really bad. I don't know, just because my uncle and my
Yeah.
lola like to cook different kinds of food, so we actually, it just depends on whatever they feel like cooking.
Mhm.
But I think just in the staples of a Noche Buena dinner, uh, I'm kind of basic that I like spaghetti. I like Filipino
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. Oh, okay. I think it's reconnecting. There we
ham.
go.
Ham also just yes. So ham also just
Mhm.
as like the signifier of, in
Yeah.
Filipino households, like it's a
Yeah.
big, like what's happening is a big deal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what about you, Kuya?
Um, for Christmas, I mean, I like a lot of food. I like food. I'm from Pampanga, so we love food. But oh no, he's okay. He's back. So yeah, I love food. In terms of if I have to choose a favorite, Christmas food, it would be ube, because it's actually a Christmas or a holiday
Oh.
food that now we have it every all year, but ube used to be just specifically for the holidays because it has a lot to do with how the harvest season for ube. Back then, the harvest season is
Oh.
from September to December, so that's when they actually start harvesting ube back in the day, and that's how ube is closely associated with the holidays in the Philippines. Although now it's more mainstream, and you see it even in the donut down the street in Sacramento, we have a ube donut. But it's still different when you actually eat the actual ube jam or halaya that they have or they make in Pampanga. And I wish I have a picture right now. I should have shown the picture, but in Pampanga, when they make the ube, it's like this big pot, like the big tawa that they it's actually the men who do it, who makes the ube, not the women,
Mm.
because it requires a lot of muscle power. I mean, a lot of my grandma does it actually. I mean, a lot of the grandmas do it, but the more
Yeah.
traditional one, it's the men who do it outside, who does it outside the house. They actually cook the ube outside the house because it's too big and they have to. It's I miss it. I miss seeing the traditional way of making ube because they actually do it on the ground on earth. Like they dig a hole on in the ground, and then they put the charcoal and then the big pot on top of it, and they have to stand all day and mix it. Yeah, so I miss making ube the
Wow.
traditional way. I mean, I still make ube. I'm gonna make ube tomorrow for my partner's family. Um, and yeah, it's just not the same though,
Oh,
because here we get ube from the
yeah, that's really
supermarket. It's not fresh. Oh no, we lost him again.
cool. I didn't know that ube was specifically tied to
Hmm.
Christmas and holidays. I actually I love ube.
Hmm.
But usually it's like ube ice cream.
Yeah,
I rarely get to eat like actual ube.
you should try it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in, if I ever get to go out to Pampanga, I'll
Mhm.
definitely yeah, I get some
Yeah.
ube.
Um, I think ube became famous in the Philippines mainstream because of Baguio City. There's a convent that as a way of
Mm,
making money for the convent.
yeah. Uh
They
huh.
they make the ube jams in jars, and that became a huge thing in Baguio City. That people
Yeah.
would actually drive all the way back then. Before all the expressways in the Philippines, they would drive like almost a whole day to get to Baguio and
Yeah.
just to get the ube from the nun. And that's how big how ube. If I look at it from a historical perspective, that's how I see ube started getting mainstream because of the tourists in Baguio. But fun fact, for those who do not know, the mother or the sister that the nun that created that recipe for Baguio's famous ube is actually a Kapampangan old lady. Yeah. So she was a
Oh wow.
Kapampangan nun who was assigned to Baguio, and then that's where she taught her sisters, the nuns in their convent, to make the ube as a form of income for their convent. Yeah, and then that became very popular across the
Wow.
Philippines. And now ube is all over the world. We have ube in Trader Joe's, but I haven't tried it. Some people say it's
Yeah.
good, but sometimes I get disappointed when I try ube from other the mainstream companies. It doesn't taste right.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Like anything mass produced, I guess.
Yeah. Question from JT.
The I think is it
Oh, go ahead.
third wave Filipino food in the US.
Hmm.
The ube dishes that have been coming out of that are like amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten to try them, but like the ube pies.
Yeah. JT is here, and JT is saying, could you make a video about ube? I made a excuse me. I made a video about ube a long, long time ago. It was years ago. I was in college, I think. But yeah, I can make a new video about ube.
Ube is not taro.
Yeah. So
Oh,
my partner is asking ube versus taro. Can you share the difference? I mean, she already knows. I explained it to her in person. But people in the US think that ube is taro because taro is still is purple here in the US. But there's a purple taro. But for Filipinos who do not know the difference, taro is actually gabi. So for those who are not aware, taro is not ube. Taro is actually gabi that we put in sinigang. So taro is not ube. Taro has a purple tint to it, but if you actually look at,
Oh, taro is gabi.
yeah, it's a different,
That's
again,
a trip. Oh yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't make
it's
that
a type of
connection.
gabi that has a purple tint.
That's so different.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure which part of the world the purple taro comes from, but because taro in the Philippines is white.
Yeah.
But the purple taro that we have here, it's still white. It just has a little tint of purple. So people confuse it with ube because they have the same texture sometimes when you put it in boba in milk tea. But it's not. It's not the same as
Mhm.
ube. Ube has a much richer flavor and much richer purple color, purple or violet. It's if you look at if you Google the picture ube versus taro, you'll see the difference even in the color. Ube is deeper purple. Yeah. Um, and
Yeah.
from what I know, they're
Why are
also
you?
not from the same. What do you call this? I'm not a botanist, but you know when they classify different species of plants, they're not in the same branch.
Mm.
I have a friend who explained it to me before in a scientific botanical sense, but I don't remember the scientific names right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah,
So ube is not taro. And
no,
I hope we can like keep pushing it as ube is its own thing because I think
yeah.
there's an impulse to
Oh no, we lost him again.
delicacies. Like we don't translate taco, we don't translate pizza, we don't
Yeah,
translate
yeah,
chow mein. As
that's
for an
true.
example, that was. So like
Yeah,
we don't need to translate ube. Just make your white friend
yeah,
say ube.
that's true. Even the English name of ube is purple yam. There's actually different kinds of purple yam from different crops.
Is what
I was just saying the English word for
crop?
ube is usually purple yam, but purple yam you can get a different type of purple yam that is not ube. Like the Japanese purple yam is entirely not
Interesting.
ube. But yeah, is but like you said, we should just if you're gonna make it mainstream, then make the name mainstream. Don't try to put the subtitle to it. Um, yeah, so it's called purple yam.
Yeah, never translated wasabi or daikon, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about my bayong or bayong
Oh yeah,
project.
you have the yeah. Oh no, we lost him again. Oh yeah, Shade Gray is just sharing how Gabi is usually white and slightly yellow in Cavite. Yeah, but in the US are usually purplish. And yeah, Kailao Kamo is agreeing with Itim. They never translated wasabi or daikon, but they do translate ube.
Not gabi.
Yeah. Let me double check the numbers for NAFCON right now. Oh, now we are at
You're
nine
going
thousand
in and
fifty-eight
out.
dollars. So for folks who have not donated, it's the season of giving. So please donate for our kababayan in the Visayas, in Palawan, in Mindanao, who are currently suffering from the impact of the typhoon. Okay. Oh, hold on. Where's my? I lost my.
Is it? I think it's back.
I lost my own screen. There we go. I
Oh shoot!
found my. It's just my
Technological
tab.
difficulties everywhere.
Oh no. But yeah, ube is a huge. Actually, there was a question earlier that I think somebody asked. Is it true that Filipinos? Let me find it. Celebrate Christmas. Where is it? Oh no, I lost it again. I'm just gonna give a few shout outs while we um look for things. So Puting Pinoy, oh, a big YouTuber from the Philippines. Puting Pinoy, Kirby Maligayang Pasko rin. Okay, Puting Pinoy. Hopefully, I can have you on my live stream someday soon, or I join your live stream. Okay, Puting Pinoy. Um, uh there was a question about Christmas that I missed, and I was gonna think of answering. Oh, here's a comment related to what I was looking for. Um, I remember whenever it is, bear in mind it's already Christmas here in the Philippines. I think Filipinos have the longest days in celebrating Christmas throughout the world. And yeah, so it is true that Christmas in the Philippines is the longest celebration of Christmas in the world because it unofficially starts in September and lasts officially until the Feast of the Three Kings or the Feast of the Epiphany. Did I say that right? That is usually in January or sometimes February. So, yeah, so September to January or February is the Christmas season in the Philippines. That is true, and there's a deeper history behind it. Not just um, there's a lot of history behind it. If you're curious, let me know. Yeah. There's a few questions for Itim from Yi. Yi is asking Itim how. Oh, where is it? There. Let's wait for it. Okay. Yi is asking, how did you get started in emceeing? Who were your first inspired by? Would love to hear more. Tell us first what emceeing is. 'Cause a lot of Filipinos, when they see the word MC, they think of the
Yeah,
host, the TV host.
yeah. So emceeing actually is an acronym. MC stands for Master of Ceremony, and going to hip hop history,
Oh no.
music started with DJ Cool Herc throwing a party and starting this culture of DJs manipulating vinyl to play specific parts, especially the beat breaks of certain songs. And that's actually where the term break dancers came from because they would dance during those beat breaks. And so, as those were actually the beginnings of hip hop culture, MCs weren't even until later. And so, MCs, the master of ceremonies, actually started as the um, people who would just hype up the DJ. So ironically, even though it's like completely reversed nowadays, and most people don't even have a DJ with them on stage anymore, like the mainstream rappers don't. Uh, Back in the day, in the '70s, um, MCs were just the hype men for the DJs, and so they would just be telling people, "Oh, you having a good time? Yeah, that's great. You know, shout out to the DJ," and have some call and response chants. But it wasn't until later, until we had artists like Curtis Blow, um, who really started to make MCing its own craft. And so you had MCs actually writing verses to the music that DJs were spinning. And so then we got actual rap groups like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And so that's where MCing comes from. Sorry, as a hip hopper, you have to know these things. Definitely recommend the Netflix documentary series Hip Hop Evolution. People are curious about more on the origins of hip hop. But as for me, I think MCing, rapping is a very interesting thing because I'm from the the white suburbs of California, and so um, I wasn't exposed to hip hop culture in a lot of the ways that I think other MCs were, where they just grew up with it, and their older cousins or friends, their uncles, brothers, sisters, whoever were like in one shape or form into hip hop, especially in California with the Filipino American hip hop scene being heavy, and the DJ and breakdancing scene. That was an exposure a lot of people had, but unfortunately I didn't, and so I actually didn't get into hip hop until much later. I went through the phase of being the rebellious Filipino kid in the white class, listening to like clean versions of Eminem because I'm from a conservative evangelical family and went to a private Christian school, so I can only listen to the clean versions of like Eminem and 50 Cent and Kanye. But when I got into college, and I just started exploring more music, um, my generation, I feel like the young millennials, we will always be defined by before and after Kendrick. For me, it was before and after Good Kid, Mad City. Like what Illmatic did for generations of hip hoppers in the '90s is what I think Good Kid, Mad City did for generation of rappers, MCs, kind of in my time, maybe even younger than me. I think a lot of people kind of in my class are in the middle of like Kendrick, but also at the tail end of like Kanye and um, Drake, even Eminem. Um, but anyways, it was when I was listening to them that I started being like, oh, rap is hella cool. I actually want to try doing it myself. And so I kind of just like rap along freestyle a little bit while I'm listening, going to class and stuff. But the major moment for me actually where I actually wrote my first spoken word piece and full out verse was for PCN, Filipino Culture Night at UC Berkeley, where I went to college. It was my senior year, and I was in PCN, and I was actually one of the lead roles of our musical. We were doing a full mouth musical that year, and my character, ironically, also the setting was People Power, was in the '70s.
Oh, cool. Oh no, we lost Itim.
Character was like an activist,
Mm.
anti-martial law, and so one of his one scene was him doing a speech, but the speech was a rap, was a song.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I'm really into. I was really getting into Kendrick, J. Cole, like those were. I think 2016 was 2015, 2016 was a lot of their time.
Uh-oh.
Artists like Bamboo, Ruby Ibarra, Blue Scholars, like getting into the whole beat rock scene, So I already kind of had that kind of turning the gears in my head. So when I saw that my character had a rap piece to do, I was like, yo, can I write this? Please let me write this. Like, I know I'm not a writer, but writers of my PCN that year were really cool, and they let me just take a stab at it. And so I made the piece, and you can actually find it on YouTube. I'll try to link it in the chat. But
yeah, go ahead.
The song is called Makibaka, and I started with a spoken word, and it turns into a song. And so that was the first spoken word piece I wrote, and like full out song I wrote. To a good friend of mine, also film, rapper, producer, artist, Savage Mind. Savage Mind produced the song, and so I just wrote to it. And that was my first piece, and it was after that I was like, oh, I love performing. I love being in front of people. Like I want to do this as an artist, and so that's kind of when I started like thinking about my rapper name, my persona, and came to the theme, which is a play off of my regular name, Tim.
Yeah.
But also is a way to pay homage to dark skin in our culture, and to hopefully be part of changing the narrative of colorism that tells us when you get darker, you get less attractive, you get more associated with like evil and malice and doing bad things, like the dark side. But I want to be part of changing this narrative where kapag sinabi natin umitim ka, ibig sabihin kumogi ka, gumanda ka,
That's
you got
good.
more attractive because you got darker. And that's what I'm gonna be telling my kids. You know, if I
Yeah.
get blessed with the opportunity to have my own children, like, I'm gonna be telling my kids, "Oh, umitim ka, ang ganda mo naman."
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
be
That's
raising our
cool.
children to see that and want to be out in the sun. So yeah, that's a little bit of my origin story. And you know, for me, music is a huge part, I think, of advocacy for me and just what I'm doing right now
Yeah.
in the Philippines. Like, I want to tell a lot of what I see and about my friends
Yeah.
here through my music. And so that's a major thing for me.
Uh-oh.
It's really
Okay.
directly kind of speaking to that. Um, but yeah, would appreciate anyone just checking me out on Spotify. I
Yeah.
linked it in the chat.
Oh yeah, you
But
do.
you can literally just find me by typing ITM on Spotify. One of my more popular songs is called Luha, Luha. You literally just
Yeah.
type in ITM Luha and you can find my profile. But I also linked it in the chat. And if you follow me on Instagram, um, my handle's right there at Sobrang ITM, at Sobrang ITM. Link in bio, take you to everything, my content. I realize it's hard to get people from point A to point B. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that, Kuya. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so hard to get people from point A to like clicking links and etc. So
Yeah,
just trying to make
yeah.
it as accessible as possible.
That's one thing I like about StreamYard. I can do these things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um,
um, Comment from JT. Please send a list of artists to listen to. Folks in the chat. Itim, Kirby, I'm long out of touch.
oh,
Yeah.
hey, yo. So if you follow my Spotify, I also have playlists, and one of my playlists is called Sisig Fries, and I made it intentionally as a sort of diasporic uh, Filipinx
Oh.
artist playlist. So it's a lot of artists in the diaspora making music out of Philippine identities, and so just people I like, some of my friends, some people I've just seen on social media, on Spotify that I think are worth looking at,
Mm.
checking out. Some well-known names like Ruby Ibarra on there, but some not so well names like myself. It's like, but
That's
yeah,
cool.
definitely check that out on
Did I
my
spell it right?
Spotify artist page. You can look at my playlist.
Yeah, check it out. Itim is on Spotify. Just search his name on Spotify. Oh yeah, we're back. Cool.
Yeah, yes, that is it. CC Price playlist.
Someone said, "Wow, ang galing."
Try to keep it. Salamat po. Ang galing nyo rin.
JT said, "Thank you
Galing
for sharing
tayong
your
lahat mga
story."
bilang mga kababayan.
Yi saying, "Wow, love your story. Thank you for sharing." Um, Kay Lau Camo gave a suggestion or a recommendation. Brisson is a talented Filipino band. Yeah, so search up the Sisig Fries. I'll go run to the PR really quick. I
Yeah,
had a
sige.
lot of coffee today, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna go
no
use the
problem. I feel
restroom really
it.
quick. So feel free to and chat with Item. You can see
Yeah.
the comments right on the side of the live stream.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
Okay. I'll answer. I'll try to hold down the fort.
Got it. Thanks.
But yeah. So one other thing too, aside from music, is I've actually also been getting into vlogging for my content. So I have a vlog series called Balikbayan, not missionary. And so you can probably already guess what I talk about in that vlog from the title. But if you would like to get a little more direct and um, casual, accessible, what's the other word I'm looking for? A very candid way of hearing about my story right now in the Philippines. Like, why did I move to the Philippines in an under-resourced, marginalized urban community in Quezon City? Um, what does that mean for me as a Balikbayan? What is, one of the big things too for me is that I really want to bring on my neighbors and my friends in the community on this vlog as a way to just advocate for their own visibility and dignity. Because I think a lot of the times, I think those of us in privileged positions like to think, oh, I'm going to give voice to so and so, to these people, and then I'm going to be their their advocate. But a lot of the time, these people are already speaking for themselves. We just have to give them attention. That's like the only thing we need to do. And so one of my main goals is to really bring them on to this vlog series for interviews, for kwentuhan, storytellings, and just have them be able to share their perspective of what it's like being working class Filipinos in Quezon City. What are the problems they see? Even if you were listening earlier, do they feel this disconnect with the educated elite who maybe for Lenny, but are nowhere to be found in their community and are completely irrelevant? So getting into conversations like that, if those are things that interest you, please do check out my blog series as well. It's on my YouTube here, um, which I will actually link you all to um, in a second. Let me just pull it up. But yeah, I'll link it here in the chat. I don't know how to make links clickable,
Oh yeah, I
but
think it
yeah,
shows
I'll
us.
try to
I think it
I'll
shows
try
us
to do that.
clickable on their end.
Oh, okay, great,
Yeah.
awesome. Then I will link it right now. But yeah, that is the main thing. I'm trying to idol Lodi talaga si Kuya Kirby dun sa
Oh,
bilang vlogger. So I'm trying to
hey,
learn from the idols of how to vlog. But that's a new kind of venture for me, a new
it's a learning
craft.
process.
Yep, yeah, as we talked about, and I appreciated your advice, like not chasing our audience, just
Mhm.
telling our stories, being authentic, and really
Yeah.
documenting what's going on. Because so one of the things I'm doing for this next episode is before I left the U.S., I was in the U.S.
Mhm.
End of October to throughout November. I sat down with my Lola and I just interviewed her about life in Real, Quezon, about what it was like immigrating, and
Mhm.
uh, so we put that like that's going to be in my next vlog. And so it's kind of a way for me to document family history, and I hope more of us can do that
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
document our stories, our collective stories, as a way of like I like to think of it kind of as we were talking about last week's conversation is how oral tradition has been a huge part of pre-colonial
Mhm.
Philippine histories. Um, and so, kind of in a way, I think vlogging has become today's iteration of oral tradition,
Yeah, it
where
is.
we record our elders sharing the stories. And so,
Yeah.
like, thankfully, because of technology, it's like not only up to our literal memory, but we can just
Mhm.
store it here and share it with a lot more people. But of course, I think with that said, there are still a lot of protocols, so to speak,
Mhm.
manners to uphold in how we share stories, and not everything necessarily needs to be turned into content,
Yeah.
um, but in a wise and respectful way, sharing our stories through this sort of
Mhm.
virtual oral tradition, I think is a cool
Yeah, it's like a
potential
modern
for
oral
a lot of
tradition.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, link us in the comment.
yes, so that is linked in the comments. Oh, JT just asked a question. Feel free to skip this question if you want. Between living in the Philippines and the US, do you feel more happy being in one place compared to the other? What a great question, Kuya JT.
This is a great question.
I mean, the academic in me wants to be like yes and no. Yes. uh, it's. I'll put it this way. I have felt home in the last year
Mhm.
in ways that years of living.
Uh-oh.
And I
You got
think
cut.
much of that
You
was.
got cut off really quick. You felt home and then you
Oh,
got cut off. Yeah.
yeah, I felt home. I have felt feelings of home in the last year in ways that I have never felt in my
Uh,
25 years growing up in the US. And I think there's everything from systemic realities of white
yeah.
supremacy in the US that make it that way, um, to just the authentic community you get to experience,
Mhm.
especially in marginalized communities. I think what
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
people tend to think when they hear about my story and choosing to move into like an under-resourced communities.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Let's wait for him to come back and finish his thought. In the meantime, shout out to our viewers. Oh wait, he's back.
Back again. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I forgot where you got cut off. um,
So
Marginalized
I
communities.
think yeah. So when people hear my story about choosing to move to a marginalized community here in the Philippines, leave my life in the U.S., a lot of times people. Oh shoot, my battery. You still hear me?
Yes, clearly, yeah. We can still hear you. So for those who are just tuning in, Itim is actually in Samar right now, where the typhoon hit. So signal is hard, but we can hear you. We can see you. Can you hear us?
Hello.
We can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. All right. As I'm getting my backup situation situated, um, so a lot of people kind of will say like, "Oh, that's so like commendable of you for leaving your comfortable life in America and like living with the quote unquote urban poor."
Yeah. Oh no.
One of the things for me is like, why is that always the reaction? Like, because it like my choice gets framed into hello. Do you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
You still hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Shoot.
We can hear you.
Hello. Are these headphones broken? Yung mga kababayan, my tech setup.
It's all good. Okay. While we wait for Itim, excuse me.
Trying to see.
Oh, he's back. We're good.
No, I don't hear. You hear me? Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Because my audio is not coming in very good.
We can hear you.
Here, let me just do that. Okay, we're just gonna do straight up iPhone mic.
Go ahead.
And do the unflattering pita angle.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I don't know if people hear me, but I'm just gonna start talking.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Whoa. Yeah, so I always wonder why people frame my decision as like what I have to give up in moving to the community I live in now. Whereas for me, it's actually been about what I get to receive, what I get to receive from.
Yeah.
One of those being like getting to receive a feeling of home, getting to receive new friendships, and for me as a Phil am learning about what it means to be Filipino, at least in this context, and that being a way of reclaiming identity. Learning Tagalog, practicing Tagalog, like, that's a huge thing I get to receive from my community. And so I think I want more people to when we think about getting involved with the underprivileged, the marginalized, it's really a mutual exchange. Like there's
Oh no.
I get to give them and what do I have to give up, but a lot of it's what do I get to receive from this community. So the long and short way of that was a bit of to answer Kuya JT's question, but I think the big thing is I miss my family at the same time. Like I still get homesick, and I miss not sweating. So all of those things are also nice to enjoy when I'm back in America. But I think I'm gaining just the appreciation for the liminal space that a Balikbayan occupies, and that we are in both Philippines and elsewhere, with whether that's the U.S. So it's kind of like the way we use the word "ooh."
Uh-oh. Oh no. Excuse me. We lost signal again for Itim. Oh, I think he's connecting again with another device. While we wait for Itim to come back and wrap up his answer, finish his thoughts. There was a question. Oh wait, oops! I thought I saw him. There was a question earlier about food. Let me find it. Okay, good question from Gwyneth. I'm curious, is the dish lechon present already in pre-colonial culture in the Philippines or only when the Spanish arrived? So lechon is the word lechon comes from Spanish, from leche, the word for milk, because it was used to be a suckling pig, a baby, baby piglet that they used for lechon, and now we use the bigger lechon. But or we've always used bigger lechons. But my point is, the name lechon is from Spanish, but the dish itself is pre-colonial. You can find in the Philippines. They have the same dish, a similar dish in Hawaii. You can find a similar dish in Bali, in Indonesia, in different parts of Southeast Asia. So lechon is uh, even though the name is Spanish, it has roots from pre-colonial Philippines. So it is a lot of our culture, a lot of our traditional dishes, a lot of our traditional Christmas things like ube and parol have pre-colonial roots before colonialism, before Christianity. So yeah, it's a pre-colonial culture to have lechon. I think Tim is back now. Welcome back. Can you hear us? Hey, can you hear us?
Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. My audio is like really messed up, but is my
Yeah.
audio coming through on your end clear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard it caught the end of what I was saying with the word
yeah,
uwi or to go home.
yeah.
But the funny thing is with that word is so uwi or umuwi means to go home.
Uh-huh.
It's
Oh no,
And that
to
is
go
the
home.
verb that a lot of Filipinos use when they talk about going to the Philippines. They don't
Mm.
say, I'm going to go to the Philippines or, oh,
Yeah,
I'm just going to go vacation in the Philippines. They don't say,
yeah,
alis ako sa Pilipinas, pupunta ako sa Pilipinas. They say, uuwi ako sa Pilipinas. They always say, I'm going back home to the
yeah.
Philippines. And so that word uwi becomes a really tricky thing for me as a diasporic Filipino.
Uh-oh.
I wasn't born in the Philippines. I wasn't
Mhm.
raised in the Philippines, but now I live in the Philippines.
Yeah,
So when I use the verb uwi, where am I going? Am I
yeah.
going to the U.S. because that's where I was born? But that wasn't where like my family is from. That's not where people my skin color have been
Yeah.
welcomed as home.
Oh,
To America, or do I say uwi ako sa Pilipinas because I'm Filipino, but then
yeah,
also I'm American and I wasn't born here and I wasn't raised here. So all these questions. I don't speak Tagalog as a first language, pero marunong ako
yeah,
mag-Tagalog. But like so even just the word uwi becomes kind of complicated. But I think something that I've been coming more to terms with is that
yeah,
I can go home to many places. Like
yeah,
kahit sa US, kahit dito sa Pilipinas, umuwi ako. Umuwi ako sa Amerika, umuwi ako dito sa Pilipinas. And I
yeah.
think the more
Uh-oh.
systemically and historically taken from us,
Mhm.
the more comfortable we can get being fluent in, yeah, when I'm in America, I'm in American mode, and I'm also
Mhm.
home here, and I'm with my
Yeah.
loved ones, I'm with my family and friends. Pero kapag umuwi ako dito sa Pilipinas, nagtatagalog na ako, sinasamahan ko mga kaibigan,
Okay, it's back.
nagtatagalog ako.
Mm.
So, yun, we have a multiplicity of
Mhm.
fluencies, identities, and I think that is a gift of being a
Mhm.
Balikbayan, is being able to choose between
Yeah,
those things and to carry multiple things,
yeah,
and to be a bridge in certain cases.
yeah,
Um, I think is a gift. So that's kind of an indirect, long way of answering
yeah,
JJT's question. But I'm happy in both places. When my family is out, when my mom and my Lola are here in the Philippines, I'm really good out here.
yeah.
But I also miss not sweating. So it really just depends on the mood and the time of year, which place I'm happier in. But
Mhm.
maybe if Lenny wins the election, I'll be a little more happier out here.
Uh-oh, we lost the connection. Um, but we are approaching the second hour, or towards the end of time
My
with.
audio is super messed up, but I think if folks want to
Mhm.
communicate, I can't really hear for some reason. Um,
Uh-oh. Let me double.
Kuya, if you need to, shoot, this is so the resilience of working with technical difficulties, I guess. If you need to tell me something, Kuya, I guess you can just DM me and I'll read it. But I'll also look at the messages on this chat. One question I think that was really good is the culture of pakikisama. I think is a really good question. It was, what do you, how do you feel about the culture of pakikisama? There are good things about it, like camaraderie and social cohesion, but can also exclude people.
So, yeah.
Very great question. So I think there are different words we can look at here. I think the deeper value in pakikisama is a collective identity. That when we think of ourselves, we don't think of ako or me. We think of tayo, us, together, we. That is kind of what pakikisama comes from, and so it's really important for you as part of kapwa, as part of the tayo, to know how to work with the rest of your tayo, or the rest of your kapwa, and the way to do that is through pakikisama. I like to translate it as knowing how to hang. You just know how to, be in community. That I think the brokenness of it comes from exclusion, whether that comes through lines of your bayan, like what province you're from, the ethno-linguistic culture you come from, like man. Yes, I mean, everybody had, like, the way politics can tend to work is that people tend to vote based off of their kababayan, someone from their province, versus what are they actually standing for, like Marcos. Like that's the tribalism, right? That's a tribalism, which in and of itself, I would say is not a bad thing. Like, it's part of being an archipelagic. I don't know how to say that word. I know how to write it. Archipelagic people in an archipelago. That's just natural. The fact that we were geographically divided and. But yes, when it comes to this national identity that has been in some ways forced on us, then it comes out in kind of poorer ways, and like what's been alluded to in exclusion. And I even have been alluding also to how we also exclude according to socioeconomic lines. The poor have experienced so much prejudice. Like, for me, when people don't know I'm American, I don't talk, but I dress in like asando and shorts. I get treated way differently than when I'm wearing shoes, pants, a nice shirt, and speaking in English. I get treated completely differently. I get treated like a white person. So we also exclude on those kind of lines, socioeconomic lines. And so I don't think that means to say that pakikisama simply, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a mechanism. Okay, now I'm just getting kind of ethnic studies, like, technical, but I think it's a mechanism of bayanihan. Pakikisama is a mechanism of bayanihan, or community of togetherness. Well, who do we consider as part of our bayanihan? Who do we consider as part of our kapwa? Who do we include in tayo when we say tayo? Do we really mean tayo, or do we mean kami at kayo? Do we really mean ako at kayo? Those are the questions in pakikisama that we need to answer. And if our pakikisama is moving towards a bayanihan, a kapwa that says tayong lahat talaga, kahit aita, kahit dumagat, kahit mahihirap, kahit if that's where our pakikisama is going, then I think we can avoid those bad habits we have of this exclusion and marginalization we have in pakikisama. We were called Filipinos before we saw each other as Filipino. Like, we did not identify with each other as Filipino, until somebody came and told us, all like that would be like the Spanish explorers going to Latin America and saying all of the countries in Latin America, you are all this one thing. You are all Latin American. You're not Brazilian. You're not Argentinian. You're not Peruvian. You're this one identity. That would be so weird for an Argentinian to think they're the same as a
Yeah.
Peruvian, right? But that's what happened to us here, and so it comes out, I think, through things like tribalism and exclusion and pakikisama. But again, I think because this is the situation we live in, how can we extend our tayo, our bayanihan, our kapwa to more and more people, especially this
Oh no, we lost him again. Let me just check something really quick. If okay, he is coming back.
connection. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that you have to say, but I'll just kind of conclude by saying these are a lot of conversations I think need to continue happening,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for people like Kuya Kirby who have,
Oh.
because I think for people like ours, they have not happened before. And so the ways that we can continue to add nuance, complexity, perspective into all of these narratives, stories, histories.
Yeah. Oh no, we're having a lot of technical difficulties, but
Independent creators, content creators like Kuya Kirby, like myself, and the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to channels, follow social of continuing these dialogues. And that's what I hope to do through my platform as Itim, as a music artist, as Balikbayan Not Missionary, as a blogger,
yeah,
and just as your kababayan or your favorite Balikbayan Not Missionary.
yeah.
Yung paboritong Balikbayan, hindi missionero. Yun lang mga kababayan, salamat. And yeah, maybe Kuya Kirby wants to say any last things because my audio is really bad.
No
Right
worries.
now. I
Yeah.
can't really understand anything. But
I'm
yeah,
not sure if
thank
you
you
can hear
again.
me now.
Salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you to everyone who watched, and thank you to Kuya Kirby for inviting me on
Yeah.
to the live. This was
Thank
really
you.
great despite all the technical difficulties.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but yeah, maraming salamat for joining us today in the Philippines or tonight here in the US. I know it's difficult because you're in summer where the signal is really bad right now because of that typhoon. Um, yeah, so maraming salamat for sharing your story, for sharing your talents and your passion with us today. And hopefully we can have you back. And maybe when you're back in your home, in your house in Manila or Quezon City with your setup, that would be we can continue the conversation because we brought up a lot of topics that we can talk more about and really explore more and have a deeper conversation with the viewers. So yeah, maraming salamat kay Itim for joining us this evening. What happened? So I'm gonna take a quick break, but I'll be back to answer some of your questions. And as usual, I'll be back for a few more minutes for maybe another half hour with everybody and answers people's question on the chat about Filipino Christmas, history, culture, and everything in between. So yeah, maraming salamat ulit kay Itim. If you want to follow him on social media, Itim is Sobrang Itim on Instagram, and you can also look at him on Spotify. He has a song called Luha by Itim on Spotify and a very amazing playlist on Spotify called Sisig Fries playlist of diasporic Filipino or Filipinx artists on Spotify. So yeah, maraming salamat kay Itim. Thank you. And maraming salamat for everyone who joining us today and for everyone who donated to our fundraiser. So far, we have $9,188 that NAFCON has been able to raise in the last couple of days for the communities in the Visayas and Mindanao and Palawan who were affected by the typhoon Odette, because it is a very strong typhoon, and sadly, we don't really see it a lot in our social media or in our mainstream media. So, thank you everybody for donating. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. I'm back. So we'll be wrapping up tonight's today or like tonight's live stream. And if you have any questions that you want me to answer regarding our topic that we any of the topics that we discussed today with Itim and our guest Itim, and any topics that you that I probably missed in the chat comments in the chat. Let me know. I have a few more minutes to stay, and I would love to answer a lot of your questions too. Just update on our fundraiser for NAFCON. So when we started the show, it was around this much of money, $9,038 in pesos, 451,000 pesos. So let me double check what we have right now in the NAFCON's website. Again, maraming salamat to everybody who donates to our fundraiser for the typhoon communities affected by the typhoon in the Philippines. It's been a lot of a lot of struggles that our kababayans are experiencing in the motherland, especially during this. It's hard because it's the holiday season and they're facing this calamities and disaster that could have been easily prevented or with a reduction. But yeah, let me double check what we have on the NAFCON website right now, and then we'll give you an update on how much we raised so far for our kababayans. Again, feel free to chat and let me know in the comments below where you're watching from and how you're celebrating Christmas, or if you have any questions on the topics that we talked about today. Nasaan na yung ano ko? Calculator. 9,000. Oh, cool. So right now, let me flash it on the screen a little bit after I type it. This is cool. So far, the total that we raised for NAFCON's Bayanihan response to Typhoon Odette in the last couple of days is $9,188.67, or 459,433 pesos. So that's a lot of money, 500,000 pesos that we are sending to the Philippines immediately. So actually, with NAFCON, you can be sure that you be sure that your donations are getting there directly and as soon as we can. We actually send throughout the year at NAFCON's Bayanihan responses to typhoons and Bayanihan campaigns to help our kababayans back in the Philippines is an ongoing campaign of NAFCON that we have throughout the year. So we actually send money to our partners on the ground, helping our kababayans in their need. So yeah, this money will go straight to our kababayans who are in need in the Visayas, in Mindanao, and in Palawan, who are experiencing a lot of hardships right now because of the typhoon. So yeah, maraming salamat sa lahat ng nag-donate. $9,000 or almost 500,000 pesos na ang ating na raise. I forgot the word in Tagalog, but yeah, we raised over or almost 500,000 pesos for our kababayans, and this is a lot of help already. So please, if you have any spare change, please donate. The donation link is scrolling down below. Type tinyurl.com/2021 typhoons, and you can donate during this live stream or even after this live stream, because it's an ongoing fundraiser for our kababayans back at home in the motherland who need our help. Maraming salamat. And yeah, let me just scroll to some of the questions that were brought up or comments. Oh, Shade Gray earlier shared things about using. The thing is about using the word ube is that in Bahasa and Tausug, ube is the word used for yams, taro, and cassava. That is true. Ube, or the cognate of ube in Tausug and Bahasa means these different things. Yeah. And actually, ube has a lot of cognates, a lot of similar words across the different Austronesian languages, not just in the Philippines. Okay, Aldwin Gregorio commented, I think the nun who started the Good Shepherd ube jam is from Batangas City, not from Pampanga. Yeah, I did mention that the nun who created the ube jam that became famous for Good Shepherd was from Pampanga. But yeah, so Aldwin is talking about Sister Fidelis Atienza, who's now famous for the just ube shepherd or good shepherd ube jam. But actually, the before Sister Fidelis Atienza, there's another Kapampangan sister who introduced the recipe to the nuns in Good Shepherd, who was the first Good Shepherd nun. I can't remember her name right now. Let me try to um, see if I can remember her name. Is Sister Mary. Let me actually look at my notes. I wrote it down somewhere. So see, Sister Mary Assumption Hizon Ocampo from San Fernando, Pampanga, was actually the very first Good Shepherd nun. So she also introduced the Kapampangan recipe of making ube jam to the nuns at Good Shepherd from what has been passed down. Yeah, so for those who are interested, and Sister Mary Assumption Hizon Ocampo passed away a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Not a few years ago, actually, over 10 years, 20 years now, maybe almost 2 decades that she already passed away. But yeah. So yes, Sister Atienza is from Batangas, if I'm not mistaken. But Sister Mary Assumption Hizon Ocampo is from San Fernando, Pampanga, and she started Good Shepherd Ube. Yeah. So thanks for clarifying that Sister Atienza is from Batangas. Cool. So kung mayroon pa yung mga tanong bago ako magpaalam ngayong gabi o ngayong araw sa Pilipinas, maligayang Pasko po sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan sa Pilipinas. Let us know in the comments below. Just drink water. There was a question earlier about what was that question? I couldn't find it anymore. I should learn how to use this app. Oh, dang it, I lost it. Here's a comment from Naomi Legaspi. Ang sarap ng ube turon. Ube turon it is very good. So thank you for sharing and reminding us about this dessert. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, ube is one of the things I really look forward to and excited to eat, and my favorite dish or food during Christmas season in the Philippines or in the diaspora. My grandma from SoCal, from Pampanga too, taught me how to make ube the traditional way. So dakal pong salamat, grandma, for teaching me that, and I'll start making it tonight for Christmas here in the US. Yan, si Kozuki Condoriano, Merry Christmas din. Yeah, so thank you again for joining us, for everybody who joined us in the last 2 hours of this fourth live stream in my series for live stream series to raise funds for our kababayans who are in need in the Philippines. And again, we're coming back. I'm not sure if I'm coming back tomorrow or the day after, but I'll be back on Monday for sure. Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific time or California time, which is 12 noon in the Philippines on Tuesday, and 11 p.m. Eastern time in New York. So if you're interested in learning more about the parol, the history behind this colorful traditional Christmas lanterns from the Philippines, the deeper history beyond Christianity, because it is older than Christianity in the Philippines, join us this coming Monday. I have a very special guest, Professor Dominic Juntado from Pampanga, who is also a professor in Manila, if I'm not mistaken. Let me FEU or UP. Yeah, FEU, I think. Yeah, maraming salamat sa lahat ng nanood at maligayang Pasko. I have a few more minutes, so if you have any last thoughts, last questions, I'll be staying for a few more minutes. Yeah, so let me know in the comments if you have many questions. Merry Christmas din kay John Suva. Yeah, maligayang Pasko rin sa mga nasa Florida. At sa Quezon Province, maligayang Pasko po. Okay, Shade Gray, thank you for sharing a lot of your thoughts earlier and this in the last couple of days too. So maligayang Pasko din sa iyo. Sa inyo, sa inyong lahat. Maray na hapon kay Teacher Big. Thank you for joining us. We are approaching the end of today's live stream, but I'll be back. For sure, Monday I'll be back, or Tuesday. And then, yeah. Then I might come back in another day too, or tomorrow, or wait, tomorrow's Christmas here. So, or Christmas Eve na pala tomorrow. But yeah, I'll be back for sure on Monday in the US, or Tuesday afternoon in the Philippines, talking about parol. So if you have questions about parol, let us know ahead of time then, so we can answer it during the live stream. And while we wait for other questions, any last minute questions from our audience, or any last thoughts in the last couple of minutes that we have today's live stream, I'm just gonna share with you some phrases in the different languages of the Philippines to greet everybody Maligayang Pasko, or Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas is in English, Maligayang Pasko in Tagalog. So in Ilocano they say ang naragsak nga Paskwa. In Waray-Waray, may upay nga Pasko. In Cebuano, malipayong Pasko. In Pangasinan, for one of my lolas from Pangasinan, maabig nga Pasko. In Bicolano, maugmang Pasko. In Hiligaynon, malipay nga Paskwa. In Ibanag, this is a tongue twister for me. Mapalupa Gia nga Paskwa. In Chavacano, Felices Pascua. And of course, in my own Manong Siswan, in Kapampangan, in what do you call this? In a more common Kapampangan, they say Masayang Kapaskuan. But in a deeper traditional Kapampangan, we say Paskong Mayap ning Dispo. So yeah. Yes, Merry Christmas and all that. Thank you again for joining us. Oh, thanks. Teacher Dig is confirming na tama ang sinabi ko, maugmang Kapaskuan sa Bicol. So yeah, again, maligayang Pasko po sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan na nag-celebrate ng Pasko, Christmas. Muli po ako nagpapasalamat sa lahat ng mga nag-donate sa ating fundraiser para sa ating bayanihan relief and rehabilitation para sa mga kababayan natin na salanta ng nagdaang bagyo at kalamidad. Para sa mga gusto pang tumulong, hindi pa po huli ang lahat, i-check lamang ang mga links sa ibaba sa aking video description o sa mga nag-scroll sa ibaba para sa karagdagang impormasyon kung paano kayo makapag-donate sa ating fundraiser. Yan. Yes, Paskong Mayap ning Dispo is a traditional Kapampangan way, the deeper greeting for Christmas in Kapampangan. Dakang salamat, Luis Galvan, for sharing. Merry Christmas din kay John Suva. If there are questions that I missed or would like me to answer in future live streams, let me know. Or just send me a private message to a PM is the key, sabi nga sa Pilipinas, or DM in the US. Send me a DM or PM and I'll see if I try my best to answer to respond to all the messages that I get from all my viewers and subscribers and supporters all over the world. But no, sadly, I don't have the capacity to answer everyone in a timely manner. There's a lot of messages and questions that I get every day, but I do I'm trying my best to compile them and answer them in future videos or in future live streams. Yeah. Salamat din kay Teacher Dig. Salamat, Sir Kirby, for doing this sa mga nasanta ng bagyo. More power to you. God bless po, followers. Yeah, thank you for following me. Maraming salamat din for tuning in and for being a loyal subscriber. I remember seeing a lot of your comments. Maraming salamat din. Diyos mabalos if you're from Bicol. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe para, and click that bell icon so you get notified when I'm going live or when I have a new video that comes out. I'm actually working on a video tungkol about Bakunawa. So yesterday or last night we talked about Bakunawa and the different dragons and mythologies in the Philippines. So I'm actually working on a video. It was supposed to come out this week, but I'm not done with it. But yeah, I'm working on the video about the Bakunawas and the many different dragons and moon-eating mythological creatures from the Philippines. So stay tuned for that. It might come out next week or the following week. Maraming salamat for everyone who's joining us. Don't forget to donate. Yes, Diyos mabalos sa lahat ng mga nag-donate. Dakal pong salamat in Kapampangan. Magsukol in Tausug. Agyamanak in Ilocano. Yeah, so thank you lahat sa lahat ng mga nakinig, nanood at nag-donate sa ating fundraiser. And again, I'll be back on Monday with a special guest talking about the history of parol and the culture revolving around the parol, the Christmas parol, with a very special guest who is among the most expert when it comes to parol, studying parol and researching parol. So abangan niyo yan sa Monday ng gabi sa US at Tuesday ng tanghali sa Pilipinas. But yeah, that will be my next special guest. And again, I might be coming back this weekend online, our live stream. We'll see. But for sure, I'll be back on Monday and Tuesday night. Or Monday night, Tuesday morning. I'm mixing up my days now and my time zones. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Yeah. I'll just check. Tignan ko lang yung update sa ating fundraiser. Oh, okay. So, yun pa rin. So, again, maraming salamat. So far, we raised $9,188.67 or 459,433 pesos and 50 centavos. Actually, may 50 centavos. Hindi ko lang na-type. But yeah, malaking tulong ito sa ating mga kababayan. And again, this is not the end of our fundraiser. It's going to be continuing. I'll be doing a lot of more live stream in the coming days to help raise funds for our kababayans in the Philippines. Thank you so much. Thank you. Key to my heart. Thank you so much. Nakaka-inspire po more years pa po sa inyo, Sir Kirby. Thank you. Hopefully, yeah. I'm looking forward to a long life. Actually, there's a superstition about my big ear growing up in Pampanga, how this is, or in Luzon, how this is a sign of long life, my ear, the shape of my ear. So hopefully that is true, that I stay long or live long and prosper. Sabi nga nila sa Star Trek. Thank you. Thank you din. Again, maraming salamat sa lahat ng donate. And this is the end of our live stream for tonight and today. Wherever you're watching, thank you for joining us. We have viewers from the Middle East, from the East Coast, from the Philippines, from Hawaii, from Europe. So maraming salamat. I appreciate all your love and support, and also your love and support, not just for me, but also for our kababayans who were impacted and affected by the Typhoon Odette in the Philippines. Thank you. Hanggang dito na lamang muna. Oh, cool. Watching from Dubai. Thank you, Amira EL. Thank you for letting me know that you're watching from Dubai. I'd love to visit Dubai one day. It's a beautiful place, architecturally speaking. I used to study architecture, so I get excited when in thinking about visiting Dubai and looking at the architecture and studying the architecture. So one day I'll visit Dubai and maybe I get to see you and meet you. Again, maraming salamat po. Hanggang dito na lamang muna. Hanggang sa muli. Kita-kits o sa Habampangan, Mikitix. I'll be right back in another live stream in the coming days. So stay tuned. Follow me on social media. The links are up here on the different social media. Sa Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, my website. Bago pala makalimutan, before I forget, I forgot to mention this. I was supposed to mention this in the middle of our live stream, but My books are on sale. The coupon code is on my social media, Snow15 for 15% off from my website. Um, and since meron pa kayo, since you stayed in my live stream this long, fun fact it hasn't been announced yet, but there's an ebook version now of my very first book that is coming out. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Maraming salamat. See you po soon. See you all soon. Yeah, see you soon. Kita kids. Thank you. Ay, live pa pala ako. maraming salamat. Thank you again. Thank you for being patient with all your technical difficulties today. Maraming salamat. See you again on my next live stream, and stay tuned on my social media for that, for when it will be. Thank you. Paalam.